here. I think it's on. Hi, everybody. Can you see me? Can you see me? Can you see me? Am I live? Hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Yay, okay, good. You see me. I was just finishing up my little preps here. Welcome to session 4 for October. 'Cause I see you too. Ding, ding, ding. Yay. Well, welcome in. We're going to have so much fun tonight. We're crafting. And we're going to do some Q&A. You get to ask me questions. I get to ask you questions. Isn't that going to be fun? Is anybody here for the first time? Because some people joined this month, but they joined mid-month, and so tonight might actually be some people's first class. It's first class. You're in first class. It's good to see you guys. I'm happy to see you too. And I don't like it when you miss it either, Vanya. Although I always understand if people can't be here, live. I always get that. She's crafty. I've got my Be Kind shirt on. I have a Be Nice shirt. I have a Be Kind. I have a Inhale, Exhale with Love. I'm trying to move in the world and remind people to breathe and be nice to each other. Okay, so maybe nobody's new tonight, which is that's good. Yeah. I don't know if anybody's new today. So I rang the bell. So what is session 4? Session 4 is crafting. And why do we craft? Because I think, it's Felicia's second class, by the way. I think that when you make a tool yourself, it's kind of special. And I say that as somebody who, makes tools, sells tools, all that stuff. I still think that you are magic, and that when you make something with your hands for yourself, that it's extra magic. I really, really do. It's so good to see you guys. So we are making a BSIM tonight, and so I'm going to start by teaching you, as I always do, to try to teach you what the craft is that we're actually making. And some of you may not know much about this craft. I'm excited because this is a craft that you can use, and it's also a piece of art. And I'm going to teach you both ways. It's very true. You have to be kind to yourself too. It all starts there. If you're a huge jerk to yourself, doesn't matter how nice you are to other people. It's just the fogies. Well, Lauren says when she makes these things herself, they're a hot mess. But I don't believe that that's always true. And I do want you to give this one a go, because I think this one is kind of foolproof. So if you're one of the people who are with crafting, right? It does. Tanya says it infuses your essence into the piece, and I really think that's true. There's something about making your own tools. And I will tell you, I've been crafting with you guys online since the start of Magical Sabbatical. I still have the original Sweetie Pie little votive holders that we made 7-8 years ago. I still have mine in the closet. I love it. I asked everybody to gather some of their own dried leaves and things from around their property. And Dave and I had just taken the kids who were, what would that make them? 4 and 6 or 3 and 5 at the time. We had just taken them for a hike in the Redwood Forest up just north of where we lived in San Francisco. And I had gotten a big piece of moss, really big, beautiful, dried piece of moss from the basin of the Redwood Forest, and brought it home. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I ended up wrapping it around this votive holder, and it became my craft. So sometimes you're gathering things, you don't even know why. So I'm gonna change cameras just to kind of show you so that you can grab some additional items if you want to. You do not need to, though. If you have your kit from me, it came with some charms, right? So you have a couple of, you should at least have, I think they got at least 2 charms, right? So there's a crescent moon, there's a Hecate's labyrinth, and there's a triple moon. And then there is a cauldron charm. So I think you got at least 1 or 2 charms in your set. And then you got the little cinnamon besom itself, which looks like this. Just kind of plain, ready to go. And then you got a piece of sari ribbon from us. And where's the piece that mine came with? I think it's this one right here. So you got a piece of sari ribbon. So this is what we gave you: the besom, the sari ribbon, and the charms. What I have gone into my little kit of magics and gotten are some small stones. I grabbed a garnet, a little double-charmed, Tibetan quartz. I can show these here to you here. I grabbed a double-charmed Tibetan quartz. I grabbed an emerald, just a little faceted one. I grabbed a Record Keeper ruby, and I grabbed a little piece of like a golden tourmaline that I found. These are just little bits and pieces of stones that I collect. A lot of these are sometimes they're little broken pieces. Like this, the garnet was in our garnet bin, but the one side is chipped. So for crafting, I love chipped stones because you just put the chipped side down. Nobody knows it's chipped. And then that piece gets a whole new, life of its own. So, yeah, so if you don't have glue, that is a different challenge. I'm just making sure my glue gun's hot. It is. It's ready to go. So make sure you have anything else that you want. I also had some cute little bits and bobs in my crafting drawer. I had these little beads that I thought might be cute somewhere. I always collect appliques. I do a lot of stuff with appliques because you can glue those onto anything. At the holidays and like at Samhain, it's super fun to glue appliques onto pumpkins that you get at the store. I love these little silk rosettes. I always keep a couple dozen of these laying around because they're good for crafting too. This was leftover from a gift I had wrapped for someone this spring. So when I wrap gifts, if I cut, how you cut too much ribbon sometimes and then you end up not needing all of it. So I keep those little shreds of ribbon because again, you just never know where those are gonna come in handy. Bits and bobs. It's the blessing and the curse because I don't throw much away. I'm always like, don't throw that ribbon away. Don't throw that random rhinestone away. Don't throw that leftover sequins away. So I have a fun little drawer of just weird shit because after all these years, of wrapping gifts and making stuff and, brooches that break and the little rhinestones that fall out of them. Over the years, if you save all that stuff, you come up with a kind of a cool bits and bobs drawer that when it comes to creating things like this, you'll be really, you'll be happy you have them. E6000 is fine to work with for this craft if you don't have hot glue. I'm using my gun. Stand back. Put your hands up. But if you don't have hot glue, E6000 is fine. Or what's the other one that people like? The monkey glue. What do you call it? I don't use that one, but yeah. Yeah, if you collect weird things, then you end up with a weird drawer. Yeah, with hot glue, less is more. I'm glad you got a wire. I don't think I got a wire, but that's okay. I can be wireless. Catherine says glue gun is not her friend, or hot glue is not her friend. That's okay. At least we know our gifts, right? The things that we that we should work with. I know I need to put my glue gun at you. Gorilla Glue. That's right, not monkey glue. It's Gorilla Glue. I call E6000 E6 million, and I call Gorilla Glue monkey glue. My grandma used to do that. She she used to have her own names for everything, and we thought she was insane. We were like, because she would call, what was it? I don't know. There was a store called Woolworths. She used to call it something else, like Williamsburg or something. She never knew the names of anything, so she just always made up her own names. And so now I feel like I'm turning into her. I just call things whatever I want, and I'm just your crazy neighbor who doesn't know what anything's called anymore. Okay, Tanya says she discovered DAP Rapid Fuse. What? Okay, glues faster than super glue and holds like a mofo. Alexis, please make a note of that. DAP Rapid Fuse. You know I'm in my heavy crafting phase right now, so I may have to acquire some of this magic that you have found. Okay. Heidi says she's going to leave this to the professionals. It's okay. So I'm going to start by teaching you a little bit, and then there's also going to be some time tonight for, like I said, for some Q&A. So if you didn't get your question in time for the coaching session this month, which, by the way, I will still be recording that for you this weekend, so you should have your coaching questions by the end of the day on Monday. I am hoping to get it done for you tomorrow. It's a busy week because of Samhain and the move and the website and everything else. So latest, you'll have your coaching question answers back to you by the end of the day on Monday. I'm hoping maybe Friday. But if you didn't get your question in on time, you can always ask a question here tonight, and so that'll be nice. We don't always have time for Q&A during class, so I thought I would leave a little space for that. And then I also have questions for you about some of the content that we've gone through this month. This month's content, from my perspective, the written content and the energy of this month around managing change has been one of the most important of the year so far, because how you manage change is how you manage your life. You know what I mean? Would you rather read Ovid instead of Q&A? It's up to you. Would you guys rather read some Ovid at the end of class today, or would you rather do Q&A? I will leave it to the group to decide that. I'm open to either one because I have my book right here and I can put my readers on and be ready to go. Oh, that's awesome. So you could paint the brushes of your besom. I thought about bringing, if you just want to take it next level, I thought about bringing my mica. I use a lot of mica in my little arts that I make. So, mica powders. You can brush mica powders onto the bristles of the besom and then put a sealant over it. Or you could actually paint some of the bristles. Like, can you imagine taking like a metallic gold and just kind of like brushing through just some of the bristles? It would really bring this to life. You could paint a design on this too. This is a little tricky because you're dealing with bristles. But I think, or alternatively, you could also just choose to paint the bands that are holding the bristles together. Is another way you could incorporate paint. It's kind of like painting feathers. You know what I mean? It's like you don't have to do it, but it makes them pop a little bit more. Okay, Q&A, it looks like, is the winner, by the way. We'll try to do some Ovid, if not this weekend, because of construction and Samhain and Halloween. If we don't do Ovid this weekend, we'll do it the first weekend of November. Yeah. Ovid, by the way, is a book that we're reading together as a group. I used to teach Western civilization to college students when I was a professor, and my favorite book and theirs was a book called Ovid's Metamorphoses. And Ovid was a Latin poet, and it's an ancient work, but it's all of the origin stories of the planet. And it's just a beautiful book of mythology. And so we've been enjoying just slowly reading it together. My goal is for us to finish it by the end of the year. And so you can always pick up a copy of Ovid's Metamorphoses on Amazon and read along with us if you like. And then some people, don't because they're not into mythology or they, whatever, and that's okay too. It's optional. Okay, cool. Oh my God, spray paint glitter nail polish. What a great idea from Sheila. I bet you have glitter nail polish. I bet you do in your medicine cabinet. I mean, just, I would say I would decorate it first, paint it second, because that way you'll know what colors to accent or make it pop with. If you paint it first, then you're going to kind of lock yourself up and be kind of bound to decorate it with the colors that you painted. You know what I mean? I think. So I think you should decorate it first and then paint it. Does that make sense? Yeah, so, and Shelby, I would just say pick up where we are now. You can always go back and read the beginning on your own later, but I would say just if you want to join us, just get the book and pick up from where we are now. Yeah, Joanne has it from university. She probably was like a lot of my undergraduate students who took it with me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. I put our new, these are the new Hecate flash tattoos, the moons. I'm glad you like them. I don't know, when do you want me to rattle again? I can do it next time we journey. Okay, I'm going to light my charcoal because I'm going to burn some of our inner power incense just to kind of soften up a little bit. This blend will legitimately relax you. I made an incense for, where's my lighter? Let's see. Hold on, sorry. Is it here? Where is it? Oh, here it is. I made an incense for tomorrow night's classroom closing session, and I'm so excited. I took Inner Power, which of course has Blue Lotus and all of the yumminess in it. Let me light my charcoal. Ooh. There we go. I took Inner Power, and cannabis is legal here in California. So I took some of my cannabis flowers from my plant that I harvested this year, and I ground those up, and then I added some buchu and wormwood, although I think there's a little buchu already in Inner Power, and it's pretty good. That's not what I'm burning here now, though. I'm just going to burn the straight Inner Power. Tomorrow night I'm taking about a dozen of my senior team members at Sage Goddess to our old classroom for a closing ceremony, which is going to be very, very, very emotional, I think, for all of us. So I'm trying to get my sound tools together. I'm going to write a letter to the classroom tonight and read it. I'm going to invite, we have a guardian who's been with us since we were in San Francisco. It's an indigenous elder, male spirit, and he used to live in the ceremony room in San Francisco, and then he moved to our classroom. He used to drum. I think Alexis heard it too. Didn't you hear the drumming in the classroom that night? I know Angela's heard it. I know that Brooklyn's heard it. Multiple people have heard it. Robin's heard it. There's a spirit that drums in the classroom, like a proper tribal drum beat. So I need to now do the process of inviting that spirit to come with us. Yeah, the Torrance showroom is closed, Sheila. Some of you may not know that we moved. So we moved this last week to our new location, our permanent location. And all of our buildings in Torrance have already been leased out. So our last day to have the keys is Friday. So we have to do our closing tomorrow, and then we give the keys back on Friday. Isn't that crazy? I know. I'm not going to record the closing just because I want it to be a really tight container for me and the team, but I will be sure to report back and let you know how it was, because it's going to be very emotional, I think. But I'm going to be asking them to share their memories and experiences, and I don't want them to feel like they can't be vocal and open, so I want to make sure that there's space for that. Yep. Okay. Goodness, it's very exciting. Okay, so let's begin tonight, now that we've got some incense going, let's begin tonight with just a little bit of teaching about what a besom is and why we would choose to work with one. Some of you may have been or may be very educated about besoms. You may have used them in your own practice. Some of you come from pagan traditions, right? Yeah, I'm not wearing makeup tomorrow, Alexis, I will tell you, or if I do, it'll be very little. I'm going to be crying the whole time. So some of you may come from pagan backgrounds and traditions, and that's really where I learned. My pagan training is where I learned most of what I know about besoms. Now, the way I work with a besom is a little bit different than I was trained. So what I'm going to teach you tonight is what I do. You never have to do what I do. If you want to be strictly pagan about it, which most pagans use a besom to attract or to call in energy. Some pagans use a besom to release or send energy away. And so I was trained to use a besom to call in energy. I've always found it more helpful to use a besom to release energy, to send energy away. And in fact, the first time, isn't it interesting? And so if it's your first, I'm going to tell you everything I know. So I'm going to start at the beginning, but it'll be a repeat for some of you who already know some of these things. One of the first instances where the broom or the besom, this, was associated with witchcraft, because it's been associated with witches forever, right? Riding the broom and witch's broomstick and, Halloween decor at Michael's, right? Or Joann's or wherever you go, Hobby Lobby. To this day, it's all witches on brooms, right? So it's interesting to me because it has always been associated with that. The first brooms, though, were made properly to actually clear spaces. And the very first brooms that were ever made were Syrian. They were made in Syria, and they were made with twigs, kind of like this. And it was very rough and ragged, but it didn't need to be pretty. The idea was they didn't have vacuums, right? So how do you get stuff out of your house? How do you get hair and fur and everything else, right? That's interesting. It's helpful to have your perspective, Janine. So, it's a way to get stuff out of your house if you don't have a vacuum cleaner that you can plug into the wall and, vacuum up your stuff. We have a lot of luxuries today that our ancestors didn't have. And so that's where the besom began. Now, the besom became incorporated into legends about witchcraft, like I said, and there's 3 primary traditions. Jumping the broom, riding the broom, and then flying on the broom that I want to talk to you about tonight. And actually, the jumping the broom tradition was my favorite of all of the pagan traditions because I love thresholding. It's a thresholding practice. In Wicca or in pagan practice, when you leave one time or one place or one experience or one dimension. I mean, what we're doing tomorrow, me and Alexis and all of my senior SG team members, what we're doing tomorrow is we're jumping the broom. We're crossing a threshold. We're leaving that space. You cross a threshold when you enter a space, and you cross a threshold when you leave a space, right? Kelly says they still do it in Mexico. I'm not surprised. They still do a lot of it in Greece too. The besom and the broom are still used in these ways too. You do it during hand fasting. So when you jump the broom, it's a recognition in a hand fasting ceremony that you're no longer single, right? You are crossing that threshold from being single to being united in matrimony, right? And I love that. Jessica said she made her own and it's only for ceremony. So you will have to decide tonight whether this is going to be kind of something for decor or if it's actually going to be something ceremonial for you. It can be both, but if you're going to use it for ceremony, then the decor you want to think about is you want to hang the besom on the side of your door. If you make a long one, like a 3 or 4 foot long, proper broom, and you can, if you want to do that tonight, I'm decorating a little cutie with you, but if you have a larger broom or besom that you want to decorate tonight, you can do that too. Then you just sit that by the side of your door. And it is a form of protection, okay? It's fantastic timing. So Spatial Calibration said this is perfect lesson time for me because I'm moving into a new home at the end of the month. This is perfect. For me, we've moved into a new building, so that's where this is going to go for me. As soon as the wall is painted, it's going to hang on the inside of the door at SG, which will be in about 2 weeks from now. So the timing was perfect too. I did a jumping the broom ceremony for Nick when he turned 13. My husband is Jewish, so but my son did not have a bar mitzvah. So we were like, what do we do for him? He's turning 13. How do we make this really special? So I started a tradition for him that I will do for Zoe at 13 as well. I chose a double terminated crystal. And I invited you guys live, actually, if you remember. I was live when I set it up out here in my driveway because it was during quarantine. And I had him jump the crystal. And so we had a conversation when he stood on one side of the crystal about his favorite memories from his childhood and what it meant for him to become a man. And it was a really sweet, beautiful, tender moment, just him and me. And then I had him jump the crystal into adulthood. And then we had a conversation there about what it means to be a man and what it means to be a warrior and what it means to have courage and what it means to, in ancient times to be old enough to go off to battle now, and what the kind of valor and strength and courage and all of that. So a lot of you remember it. So I did a variation on this. You can always do variations. That's why I try to teach you these traditions and then how I kind of riff on them, because it was really important to him. And now the crystal sits on his, he has a place in his room where he keeps all of his crystals that I've given him over the years. And that wand sits right there. And with the intention that one day, if he has a son or a daughter, that he will maybe, use that then for them to jump the crystal when they turn 13. I like the idea that that could be carried on in that way. So that's one example of jumping the broom that isn't jumping a broom, but it still is this idea of crossing the threshold. Yep, that's exactly right. And what Lexus is sharing is exactly what you do in pagan practice. You hang it to ward off negativity, and then because cinnamon attracts wealth, this little one that we're making for you today can be used to attract prosperity to you. So we're actually going to, as soon as we decorate ours today, we're actually going to do a little ceremony with them. Just a brief one, where I'm going to ask you to work with your besom today, while we're in this Samhain threshold itself, where the veil is so thin. I'm going to ask you to call in something that you want to manifest or attract by pulling the energy towards you. Again, just like we learned in the Aztec ceremony this year, whenever you want to call something in or attract it, you pull it towards your heart, and when you want to release it away from you, you push it away from your heart. So if you ever wonder, am I attracting? Ask yourself, am I calling it toward my heart, or am I releasing it away from my heart, right? So we'll do that together today. And then anytime, if you feel like, I want to release all this sadness around me, or I want to release all this anxiety around me, you can just pull your besom down and release, release, release. Or if you're sitting and saying to yourself, I really want to call in some new partnerships or new resources or new something, then you can bring your besom down and pull it towards you. It's an easy, quick little ceremony that you can do anytime, anywhere. And this is kind of the perfect size to be able to travel with, too. They sell the cinnamon brooms, the big ones, at Trader Joe's. So I don't know if they have them online. Might be worth a peek. I haven't checked this year, but usually when I go into Trader Joe's this time of year, I haven't been yet this time of year, but usually when I go in, it's the first smell that you smell. I leave the bristles down when I hang my besom, just because I always have. Annette was asking which way the bristles should go. So I don't know if any of you do it a different way, but I hang with my bristles down. Technically, it's a little bit different energy with feathers. It's a great question, Hillary. I think it's a different tool when you're working with feathers. So up to you if you want to try it. But I would recommend that you work with branches or bristles. And one of the things you can do, if your garden is really dry, and actually no, Susan, I'm going to tell you about more traditional materials for besoms in a minute. Cinnamon is actually non-traditional, but we just like the idea because it's also a prosperity tool, so we thought that was cool for you. If your garden is dry, like mine, okay, where some of your herbs and some of your trees and plants and everything have dried back, when you trim them, if they've got small branches, save those. Alternatively, you can make an awesome besom out of the little sticks of your white sage. When you're done with your white sage sticks, always keep them, because you really can make a cool besom. If you have a couple of sprigs of white sage, you can actually tie them together and make a white sage besom. We used to sell those at sagegoddess.com. Does anybody remember that? You're super old school SG if you remember the white sage besoms, because that was like 5 years ago. I used to sit there on the floor and wrap them myself, and then I taught my team how to wrap them, and they would sit there and wrap them. We don't have them anymore. Yeah, so anyway, lots of different fun ways to take this in a new direction too. So it's been associated with witches for a long time, even though at the end of the day, a besom is just a broom, and people needed brooms to be able to sweep their homes. Alexis remembers. Did you make besoms too? We put a little quartz point on the front with a little piece of sari ribbon. Yeah, you're super old school if you remember that. That's real OG SG. For sure. Yeah, so if you've kept your white sage sticks, you now know what to do with them. Riding the broom is different from flying on the broom. So sometimes when people are trying to get pregnant, they will symbolically straddle the broom to call in prosperity. So that's the primary thing I've seen. I have heard of some people who will put a broom between their legs and like pretend to be riding it and go around their if they're on a farm and they're trying to get their crops to grow, they will walk the perimeter of the farm and just sort of holding onto their broom like they're riding it, but just walking, and it's supposed to bring fertility to the land, make the crops grow faster and stronger and better in the next year. So that's an interesting kind of like, that's a good activity for right now if you're seeding or whenever you're going to be seeding, for the spring season. You can go out there with your broom. In my house, I could get away with it because if Dave saw me outside just like walking around with a broom between my legs, he wouldn't really think too much of it because everything I do is kind of weird anyway. But if you live with like normal people who think you're pretty normal, maybe wait till they're gone for the day before you go outside and pretend to be riding a broom when you're just walking in circles, because it can look, I'll admit it too, it can look really weird. Now, what is riding the broom? Flying on the broom, right? The flying broomstick. We've talked about this before. Everybody other than us in this century, let's say the last couple of centuries, because we've been pretty conservative since really the European Renaissance. So, and certainly the formation of this country has been a very conservative process. But before the 1700s, there were hallucinogenics, right? In every culture, in every tradition, including the early pagan traditions. So they were working with all kinds of fermented goodies, like we've been talking about, across different traditions. And so they would, be riding the broom, but be on a hallucinogen, so all of a sudden it felt like they were flying on the broom. And so flying on a broomstick is actually our ancestors being in party town with things that we probably don't even know about anymore. So that's the difference between jumping a broom, riding a broom, flying on a broom. Jumping a broom is the most normal, easy thing to do and almost looks normal. Riding a broom looks weird but doesn't require drugs. Flying on a broom looks weird and requires drugs. So I would say you're best off just working with number one. Jump the broom. And there you go. I know. That's right. Ergot was there. Probably I think the mugwort they were growing was a different strain, truth be told. And I promise you they had things we're not hip to. Promise. They had stuff we don't have anymore. Alcohol was stronger. I think strains of, some of our mild hallucinogenic plants like a mugwort, I think their strains were different. That's right. Hi, Cecilia. Nietzsche's like, let's do it. I don't have it for you today, although that incense is a nice way to get a little taste of that without, too much of that. Okay. What were the traditional materials, to go back to the earlier question, because it was a great question, what are the traditional materials that a besom was made out of? It wasn't made out of cinnamon. This is a very modern interpretation. The original besoms were made of ash, birch, and willow. And that's because where besoms were used, by and large, those were the primary trees that were available to be used to make them. So ash, birch, and willow. If you see a besom being sold or made, there are still fun places, like certain parts even of the U.S. where you go, where they have, little fun witchy shops, and they'll sell handmade besoms, artisanal besoms that are still made in the old ways, like hand bound and all of those things, and they're super duper magic. I don't own one, but I think they're really cool. They do. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I really think it's interesting. I don't know, has anyone written about this, about the differences between plants today and plants in the earlier times and how different they were or similar? I would be so curious to know if anybody actually has data to show that. It's always been my kind of working theory that the strains of things were different, but I would love to know if anybody has any data to support that. It's my hypothesis. Okay, so the as early as 1324, there are other people who cite 1299 and 1350. There's all these different dates. But I think it's safe to say the early 14th century is when people started getting into trouble, by the way, for working with a broom. There was somebody who was accused of witchcraft. I don't know if they were, properly punished for it, because they were seen sweeping the front doorstep of someone who later became sick. And so they were accused of sweeping the person's health away. And then there was another person who was accused of witchcraft because they were seen sweeping someone's front doorstep that wasn't their own doorstep. And those people, didn't have any money. So they were accused of witchcraft in form of sweeping away people's money. So those are some of the early examples of people being punished for working with a broom. Okay, any questions about any of that? Wouldn't that be interesting? Tanya said she saw an article about scientists growing a fruit tree from the seeds from the time of Jesus. That would be really fascinating. Yeah. It's a fantastic idea. I love it. I'm going to do it while my charcoal is hot. Stephen was mentioning burning your oil that we made together, which is probably my favorite perfume of the year so far. I've been wearing this as a perfume every single day because it blends really well with patchouli, which I wear all the time. And just so you can see, when you put your oil on your charcoal burner, it really goes. That's why we call it liquid incense, and it just takes a drop. It does not take very much to get that going. So thank you, Stephen, for the recommendation, right? You do have a maker in your area, Debbie. Would you mind, I don't know if you're comfortable, linking to them? Especially if it's somebody you know and trust. That way, if somebody would like to get a handmade besom, I think that would be really nice if it was somebody, that local to one of you and maybe somebody that you know. Yeah. Really, really, really intense. So, can you attach mandrake root to your broom? I hope you will. I think that is the coolest idea ever. I like it. I like it a lot. Next year's tools are going to be different than this year's tools because I don't want to bore you. The only thing that's going to be consistent between this year and next year is that each month you're going to have a candle and a perfume of some kind because I have to have candles and perfumes to teach. Which might sound really silly. But I need fire. We have to have fire and scent. When you and I have the same perfume, it connects me and you no matter how far away we are from each other. We're smelling the same thing right now. If you're using the perfume we made, you and I are smelling the same thing. And there's a little bit of magic about that. So there will be a candle and a perfume, but other than that, nothing's going to be the same next year in terms of the tools. Okay, cool. Yeah, so anyway, you guys can share resources. I would really love to have you do that. We made perfume last time at the beginning of class. Okay, so let me continue on then. So what does cinnamon bring? And then we'll get to decorating and we'll get to also to using our besom too. And then I'll leave, like I said, the last hour for Q&A. We can talk more about Hecate's Labyrinth. I actually taught, we don't have a lot of time for that specifically today, Allison, but I taught kind of at length about it. Alexis, you might know more about where that teaching might sit. I'm trying to think about when we did Hecate's Labyrinth. So maybe Alexis can look back and see if she can grab the notes to share those with you. Might be helpful for you. Yeah, that's very cool. And thank you guys again for sharing your resources. So cinnamon, the besom that we are focusing on today, or the one that we're working with that came with your tools, attracts 5 things: love, healing, protection, success, and luck. Love, healing, protection, success, and luck. Which is why a lot of people think it's a prosperity herb. It's a prosperity herb because cinnamon puts you at the right place at the right time. That's what I love about it. Now the trick with cinnamon is it's really hard to wear as a perfume. People have said, well, isn't it, if it's so potent, was it October last year? We'll try to find the notes for you because we did a really kind of thorough dive on Hecate and her labyrinth, and I just would want to give you the best. Okay, cool. Oh, isn't that cool? Alexis is going to use Bianca's spreadsheet to find it for you. I love that so much. And actually, Alexis, you might just want to post it in our Soul Shift group now. That way, because some other people might want to see it too. So I think that might be a good info share for us. Okay, so that's why a lot of people think it's a prosperity herb, but only because it puts you in the right place at the right time. So if it was possible to wear it safely on your skin, it burns the skin, which is why we can't make a perfume out of it. So many people are allergic to it. When I use cinnamon in a perfume for Sage Goddess, I use a drop. Can't use much more because a lot of people get very irritated by it, the pure, true cinnamon. But I wish I could use it in more perfumes because it really is one of the most potent for success, even more than bergamot, even more than bay laurel. And bergamot and bay laurel are two of the most potent herbs you can work with for success in particular, and good luck and good opportunities. But cinnamon seems to create synchronicity that's in alignment with prosperity, if that makes sense. It is. Cinnamon is really irritating to the skin. If you're a perfumer or if you are studying it or one day you're going to make perfumes, just always know cinnamon is the one you really have to be careful of. And then you have to be careful of the citrus oils too because, they're photosensitive. So if somebody puts a perfume on that's got a ton of lemon or orange or tangerine and goes out in the sun, if it's not properly diluted, it can be really harmful to their skin. So, but cinnamon, I love it so much. I love the smell of it too, but you just can't have too much of it on your skin. It's not good for you. Yeah. Yeah, acacia is in the same family. It's not exactly the same thing. We're talking about, it's two different parts of of one whole. That's right. So when you work with cinnamon, whether it's the true cinnamon or cinnamon acacia, both of them are highly irritating to the skin, and you got to be careful not to apply them directly. It's really strong and can be overwhelming. Off the top of my head, Sheila, I'm really trying to think of what has cinnamon in it. Very few. Umbra does. But I changed Umbra to a synthetic cinnamon, which doesn't irritate people's skin because I can't make Umbra without cinnamon. And so many people loved Umbra, but they couldn't wear it because they couldn't wear any cinnamon. So I changed from a natural to a synthetic in Umbra for that reason. I'm trying to think of what other ones. Vesta has cinnamon in it. There's a couple of them, and they're mostly OG because in the most recent years I just kind of steered away from it because it was just so irritating to so many people. Yeah. The South might have cinnamon in it. I can't remember. Tatawari has cinnamon in it, but that's a candle. So, that most of us work with the candle, so you can burn a candle. It's not going to irritate you. Empath Shield, that's true. I think fire does. Moongazer, I'm trying to remember if Moongazer does. I think Moongazer has clove or cardamom. I'm trying to remember. No, Sacred doesn't have cinnamon in it. Nope. Look at you guys know better than I do. It's true. So anyway, I don't want to take us too far off of our course, but cinnamon is super powerful, especially for prosperity and abundance and success, and that's how it gets to abundance because it puts you in the right place at the right time, so it attracts you good luck and new opportunities that are ultimately going to be in alignment with your broader wealth and prosperity. Okay, so I'm not sure on the perfumes, which is why I'm kind of switching gears. I'm just not sure off the top of my head. I don't want to tell you something does have cinnamon in it if I don't know for sure that it does. I'm trying only to mention the ones that I know for sure. But yeah. Clove and allspice can be nice alternatives. And cardamom too. If you kind of want some of the energy of cinnamon, but not the caustic properties of it. Although again, clove does have the money drawing properties to it. Allspice does too. Cardamom does not. So if you're trying to get the exact similar properties, you have to make sure that you're using the right kind of spice because some spices are more aligned to prosperity than others. Cardamom is more for passion and desire and sexual function. Than it is for prosperity. Okay, so if you hang it to the side of your door, it will bring protection. And I've seen people say either side. I've seen people say you got to hang it on the right, and I've seen people say you got to hang it on the left. So I will tell you, I don't think the side matters. Is the energy the same if you diffuse it? Depends on who you ask. Depends on who you ask. Some people say yes, Lauren, and some people say no. Yeah. It just depends on who you ask. For me, I mean, there's something about anointing with the oils and getting them physically on my body that works a certain kind of magic for me. But some people feel like they just need to have the oil in their space, and they're good. So I think it really depends on the person and how you feel connected to it or not. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do, I want to just one more time go through the supplies with you, just in case anybody joined us a few minutes after we got started, so that you know what you need to have. If you want to have oils to anoint this with, you know, whether you want to have your Lilith perfume or your perfume that we made in Soul Shift this month and you want to add that to your besom, you can do that too. I'm going to leave mine as it is, because what I want to do is when I'm done and I've got the intention for it, then I think I want to add specific oils for those intentions. And so I might go back in, if I decide this is going to be primarily for prosperity, then I might go back in with myrtle and cinquefoil and patchouli and basil and a little bit more cinnamon, which are all of the, you know, prosperity and abundance oils. Or if I decide I want to make this into more of a besom for good health, then I might go back in with, you know, all of the health oils, eucalyptus, birch tar, and moringa, and then anoint with those oils. If I decide I want this to be for, you know, joy and happiness, which is another great reason to use a besom, to bring joy and happiness and a little bit of lighthearted energy into your space, then I'm going to go in and anoint with some vanilla, some tangerine, some jasmine, some, I don't know, there's 100 oils for each intention that you could use. So it really just is whatever you want to, whatever intention you want to align to. I don't think it matters whether you hang it inside or outside, but for me, I think especially if you have harsher weather conditions, I would recommend keeping this inside, if it were me. So and that's why it's got a little hook in the back, so it's all ready to hang. And it's so easy to hang. I mean, it doesn't weigh anything, so you don't really need much more than just a little tack to hang it by. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to come back to the front here and show you, this is my sample. So ultimately what you're going to be doing is, and yeah, I guess I was supposed to have a wire too. I'm going to use my ribbon to attach my, oh, the charms are really small, huh? Maybe I have, I'm probably going to attach my charms after because I don't have my ribbon, unless I can get I don't have my wire. I might be able to get my ribbon small enough to pass through that. So that's why you have your wire. My team made the little prototype for me. So I have wire downstairs, but I don't want to leave you. I can always put my charms on later. So that's why you have your wires, because the little holes on the charm are really super tiny, so kind of hard to pass your ribbon through. Yeah, Tina, I'm one step ahead of you. Yeah, you can hang it above your door too. Yeah, you totally can. Oh, I love that. Yeah, and I love it. So Janine says she tied a little cinnamon stick on the back of hers too, which you can totally do that too. Okay, so if you have your wire, that's what that is for. What I want you to do is take all of your charms, any crystals that you have gathered, whether you're going to use them or not. This is kind of how I like to begin crafting. Bring all your little treasures together that you've gathered. I think I know mostly what I'm using. Oh, I have this little tiny thin ribbon that might actually just be perfect for attaching my charms. I think that's going to work just beautifully. So I want you to bring all of your goodies together. Oh, jump rings too, that's a good idea. I like to bring everything together in my hand. I'm putting it in my left hand and putting my right hand over it. And I want you to take a minute to just come into connection with your breath, come into present time, be fully here in this moment. Yeah, Kelly, I think we decided, I mean, at least I hang mine with the bristles pointing down, but I want you to follow your intuition for sure on that. I want you to come into present time, come into alignment with your breath. And I want you to set an intention for what you want to use this tool to bring into and to release from your life. So let's start with setting an intention for what you want to release from your life with this broom. And that can be, I mean, that can really be big picture releasing, or that can just be on a real micro level too. I think for me, what I want this broom to release from my life is anything that doesn't need my focus and attention. One of the things I'm really trying to cultivate this year, and I'm continuing to work on it because it's a work in progress, is discernment. You know, what needs my constant focus and attention and what doesn't? Sometimes when we give things too much focus and too much attention, we prevent them from healing themselves or reconciling themselves or solving themselves. Just like when we help people too much with their problems, we prevent them from doing their work, right? So we end up creating a codependent situation. And so one of the things I'm trying to figure out in my life is what isn't mine? Which sometimes is hard to discern, especially when you are, when you do work like I do with a lot of people. It's hard to sometimes discern what's mine and what's not mine. So Sharon's releasing disharmony. Meredith is releasing overthinking. I would love to release overthinking. I think that's a great one. Hillary's releasing lack. Christine's releasing chaos. Annette's releasing truth. And maybe even, obstacles to truth or challenges to truth, right? Or sometimes we need to release the need to know the truth all the time. It's like, that can be an endless kind of loop of a quest, you know what I mean? And it's like sometimes just we don't always have to know everything all the time. And so I'm going to use this broom to release what doesn't belong to me so that I'm not holding it. It's not bound to me anymore. Releasing health problems, releasing fear. Beautiful, beautiful. Tension, chaos, disharmony. I thought was a really great one from Sharon too. I think a lot of us are ready to release disharmony. Just anything that is out of alignment, right? Overreacting. I think a lot of us can work with that one too. And you can even release, you can release physical discomfort, you can release excess weight, you can release, almost everything can be released, right? You can release trauma that's ready to be released, past, present, future. You can release feeling negativity, worthlessness. I love it. Bad health, the need to know. It's really true. The need to know one really hangs a lot of us up. But I need to know. It's like, okay. That's right. I like it. Okay, so Great Spirit, see us as we create this tool tonight. This really, it's an amulet more than anything. This treasure with our hands. We ask you to bless it and to bless us as we make it. Bless our hands and guide them. And we ask that this tool first be activated to help us release all of the things that we have claimed tonight. Things that are standing in our way, things that aren't serving us, things that don't belong to us. In all the ways that we are ready to do that work. Great Spirit, we give thanks for this capacity to work with this tool, to learn how to let go when it's time to let go. And take a nice deep breath there. If it feels good, you can use your breath across your tools too, which infuses them with your life force. They all look so pretty sitting in my hand. I love the process of creating, and I love it that when it starts with raw materials, you kind of don't know what it's going to look like. You might have a vision in your head, but it's like the tool ends up creating itself. Yeah, you certainly can, Londa. If you want to use it to release 2 or 3 things, I think that's okay. Or just a category of things. That's why I'm using, things that don't belong to me. Sounds like a category on Jeopardy, right? I'll take things that don't belong to me for 500, Alex. What is everyone's bullshit? Oh, okay. So you can do just a category of things, so you don't have to worry about like kind of narrowly defining it, or you can specifically say I'm going to release unhappiness, poor health, and excess weight. And then I want you to do the same thing with me, but I want it to be for what you're going to use this tool to call in to yourself. So what do you want to, I'm glad I made you smile. What do you want to work with this tool to call in? So for me, this has been an interesting year for me for attraction. Because so much has been kind of like paused and disrupted, It's been an interesting year for this idea of attraction. What I am trying to attract right now is, for myself personally, the completion of our building in a good way, which has been twice as expensive as they told us it was going to be. And yes, I know it's always like that. And also like delayed like crazy because of COVID. So I'm calling in a good, easy finish to the building that everyone's going to love and they're going to feel so comfortable there. I'm calling in good health through the winter and spring, through the whole year ahead. For myself, my family, my loved ones, my community, my friends, everybody in our circle. I'm also calling in ease. Things unfolding in a way that's just divinely connected. Because ease isn't always easy. I'm sure you guys know that. Ease does not mean easy. Like, I experience a lot of ease in my life. My life is not an easy life. But I can see where there's a greater hand moving things in my life, and I define that as ease. Does that make sense? So I would say my life is full of ease. You would probably come into my life and go, this is not easy. And I would say, no, ease is not easy. Ease is just aligned. Abundance and prosperity, I'll call that in too. Can always use that. I love it. So everything that you're ready to receive, everything that you're ready to put into your cauldron and have it come to you in a perfect way. Good health, peace, leadership, in all the ways that you define that too. Yeah. Serenity, ease on the level up. I like that too, Saya. Because when you're leveling up, a lot of times it's jittery, right? It's like you're going through a re-entry process. And so as you level up, I think calling in ease there is a really good idea. Prosperity of wealth and health. I love it. Okay. Calling in love, a relationship for the new year for Kelly. Confidence for Lauren too. Effortless is another beautiful word, Vanya. I love that word too. There's just something... We think of that as being a naughty word, I think, especially in more of the Western cultures, because we have this thing called a work ethic, and so we think if things are effortless that you didn't earn them. But a lot of cultures don't believe that. Actually, a lot of cultures believe that when you have to work too hard for something, it might not be meant to be. So I kind of like aligning more with that idea that if something is effortless, it's just meant to be yours, Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding from Wida. I love that so much. To be present. Thank you for that, Heidi. Okay, so one more time with your hands together over your tools. So Great Spirit, see us now as we create this tool with our hands, with our open hearts tonight, to call in and manifest all of these things that we're claiming tonight. And so, and I would recommend, you can say yours out loud if you want, and remember, always in present tense. So, my building is complete and beautiful on time. And I enjoy perfect health and divine abundance and ease and effortlessness and joy. I experience a sense of surrender and peace in every moment. I'm aligned in all I say, do, and create with my highest purpose and the greatest need for my gifts on this planet at this time. Okay, and then using your breath to seal. Dream it, dream it, dream it. When you're crafting and you're infusing, I mean, this is what separates. We could have made that BSEM half an hour ago and be done with class, and I would be saying goodnight right now. If it was just about tying on some charms and wrapping a ribbon around it, and you know what I mean? It's not about that. 90% of what goes into magical crafting is the intention, the dialogue, the conversation, the acknowledgement, the receipt, the blessing, and all of these steps is what separates something you'd buy at a store off a shelf from what you are ultimately going to be hanging on your wall tomorrow. So there's a direct correlation between how much effort you put into this part of the process and the experience that you have with this tool when you start to work with it in your home or your sacred space, right? That's why handmade things are just so beautiful to me, and they always have been. It's just way more special that way. Okay, so I'm actually going to craft not up here because it's kind of just far away. I do want to light my candle though. I love the smell of this candle. This is our last class together tonight of the month. So I just wanted to light that for the ambiance because I like having a lit candle. Okay. So now I want you to, what did I do with my, oh there it is. I know it didn't leave. I want you to take your BSEM and I want you to take a look at the tools that you have gathered. If you have any crystals that you're adding or anything like that. And I want you to begin the process of designing the tool. Okay? So I want you to kind of look at it and think about, the balance. And again, you can work with just what you have from our kit, or you can add your own little goodies too. It's completely up to you. Your creativity is everything here. So whatever you have, you can use it. You probably have some little quartz points from Sage Goddess and other little things from, the time that we've been together that you could include too. I'm trying to see if I can use this little ribbon to tie my charms on. It may not work. I'm gonna have to get my glasses. Can't see anymore without my glasses. I'm really gonna have to get prescription glasses soon. Hopefully not to wear all the time, but I do need them every once in a while. It's like a whole new world when I put my glasses on. And I know some of you understand. Let's see if I can do this. So I really don't want to leave you to go get a wire. Oh, it works. Yay. Yes. I love it when I try things that I think probably won't work and they totally do. That's just the divine on my side. Okay. So I think for mine, I'm just going to put my crescent moon on, and I have to tell you, I kind of love it. I don't think this was much of a accident or a, you know what I mean? I think it was intended. Because it kind of looks cute on that, don't you think? Thank you, Samantha. Dave loves it when I wear my glasses. I mean, it's not, we don't get weird about it. It's not like I put them on just for sexy time, but he does actually like it when I have my glasses on. Dave would be the first to tell you, I'm going to tie this on while we talk. Dave would be the first to tell you that it has to be mental for him. He liked me first because I was smart, which is kind of a cool thing. Because it's, then you got to have chemistry. Can't do it without chemistry. Okay, so I'm going to tie my little thing on here. I wish I didn't have such long nails. That would make it easier. Give me 2 seconds to do this and I can be a little more focused with you. To walk amongst yourselves. I have to get this little leaf off. Well, this is turning out to be a lot harder than I thought it was going to be because I don't have long legs on it. Let me try one more thing real quick. And if it doesn't, I'll just glue it. No, I'm going to just glue it. This is a pain in the butt. Hold on. Let me just glue this down. And that is all it needed. Just a little glue. The leaf down on the back so you kind of can't see what I did there. Yay! And that is on and secure. So there we go. Yeah, you can cut your wire. You just need like really sharp scissors to be able to do that. If you want to cut your wire, it's pretty easy to do, but you got to have something kind of heavy duty. Talk amongst yourselves. I know, you got all quiet for a minute. Okay, so put your charm on. I would say put your charm on first. That's why I wanted to get mine kind of out of the way, because then you can decorate around it. Unless you want to hang your charm last, which you can do that too. The good thing about working with hot glue is if you get it all over your fingers, it just kind of, when it's cool, it will just peel right off. Okay, so now you've got your charm. Hopefully situated right where you want it and you like it. Now I want you to get your ribbon. Now this is where we're going to do a little bit more prayer work and intention work. Yeah, like pliers. You can use scissors too. I mean, I don't want you to hurt like a really nice pair of, fabric shears or anything like that. Not if they're, super, super, super. Welcome on in, Chris. It's nice to see you. These were, I think you're looking at the trawl line and the aquamarine from last night. This is leftover. These are the things from the gem sale. They'll get shipped out in the morning. Okay. Now, there's a couple different ways to do this. I like to leave a little bit hanging so that I can tie a bow at the end. So I'm going to recommend that you do that too. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Say I want everybody to post pictures in the Facebook group of your besoms when you're done. I personally would love to see your besom when it's done. Only if you feel like sharing it, but I would really like to see it. We haven't opened a circle because we're not doing a full-on ceremony yet. I am going to open a quick circle before we use this tonight, Carla. So we've attached our charm to our besom, and now we're wrapping our ribbon. So I hang it over the top like that, enough to tie a bow with. And if your ribbon is folded, you might want to unfold it because it'll go a little bit, further. Oh, I love that. Dried flowers, all the little beautiful things you add are going to make it your own signature besom, which I think is really special. Okay. That little leaf can't decide if it wants to be in or out. And then as you go around the first time, again, I want you to restate again. Let's start with what you're releasing. So let's restate again. What are you releasing with this besom? So with this besom, I release everything that is not mine to hold. And let's do one more release as we go around. With this besom, I release everything that does not bring me joy. And with this besom, I release anything that is not aligned to my true essence. And now as we come back down, let's do the attract. So with this besom, I attract. Actually, I want to do this one more time. I'm going to go up kind of at an angle. So I'm just going to restate everything that isn't me, everything that isn't aligned to the core of who I am. Sorry about that. Just wanted to kind of do it more at an angle so it looks crisscross when I bring it back down. And then with this besom, I release, or I attract perfect health through the year ahead, divine prosperity, and my building being completed on time in a good way. Somehow. Okay. And then you bring it back down and tie it, and it will look like that. And then I'm going to bring it up on my knee and tie a bow. It's kind of like bundling sage in a way. And I just want a little bow at the back. I don't want a huge floppy bow. I just want a little tiny cute bow at the back. And I'm going to trim off the ends. Always say thank you when you trim the ends of your ribbons. Thank you. Thank you. This is sari ribbon, so it's alive. It's a living fiber. It's silk. So thank you. Thank you. Okay. And here is how mine looks right now. But we have just begun. I think it's good to watch first and then craft after. You know what I mean? I think it's a good idea. But I think there's nothing wrong with doing it in real time with us too. So it's whatever you feel like doing. Now I've got my bits and bobs that I talked about earlier. So I have this little bead situation from one of my craft drawers. And I have a little rosette. I wonder if those would look pretty together. I think they would. Now I thought this was going to fit over my besom. It might actually, if I'm careful. Yeah, it will actually. Well, that worked out. Okay, so I'll show you this in just a second. It's kind of cute. And these are just little things I'm adding on from my little junk drawers. You probably have a junk drawer with little weird things that I think this came on a candle I bought a long time ago, and just stuff you keep. Okay. So that looks like that. It's kind of cute. I think I like it. I'll put my moon over the top of it a little bit. And then I'm going to take my, actually, you know what, that needs to be up a little bit higher, I think. So I'm going to hot glue it up just a little bit higher. I don't think I want it to be so low. What do you think? Maybe it should just hang low. You think it should just hang? That's what it looks like hanging low. Maybe it should. It's kind of more bohemian when it just kind of hangs off to the side. What do you think of that? It's kind of fun, right? Yeah, it is good to kind of clear off your energy too. I can burn some sage for you too, Annette. I can clear you. Let me just light some sage in my candle here. Just releasing anything that would distract you from being fully present right here, right now. Sending it back to wherever it belongs. So good. Okay, and then I'm going to glue my little rosette that I pulled out. I'm going to glue that right on top of my little bead situation thing. So just a little bit of hot glue right there. It's cute. It's cute. So putting that right there, and then, and by the way, what would be even more beautiful, honestly, than a rosette would be a dried flower. If you have a little dried rosebud from your garden, that would just be the sweetest thing. Would love to see you do that. Some of you are really gifted at beading and making jewelry, making beaded chains and necklaces and stuff. You could totally make your own little beaded, thing to hang off the side of that too. Oh my goodness, Holly had a small broken piece, I love that, of pink apophyllite that she's gluing to the moon charm. So I'm saying always save your broken crystals, because I'm about to use a broken crystal on this one and give it a whole new life, and somebody might have just thrown that away, but if it's, you're not going to see where it's broken, so it gives it a whole new life. Although, now that I'm here working with this little beauty, kind of feeling like that tourmaline. So what you can do, this is what I'm looking at right now, you can glue a couple of crystals right to the front of it. I have this green little tourmaline bar. This was a little, like I said, a chipped garnet. A little garnet. Or these were remember the little $1 garnets we had at SG a couple months ago? That's just one of those that, the team didn't think was up to par, so I took it, brought it home. I also have this, I have an emerald. Kind of feeling like that tourmaline. What do you guys think? And what crystals are you putting on yours? Oh, an Angelophoe symbol would be beautiful. Wow, that would be really, really beautiful. I would love to see you do that. One of the things you could do if you wanted to, if you got the Angelophoe necklace from, was it 2 months ago with the Tanzanite? If you wanted to take that and use that on here instead of as a necklace, that's the size of charm that you could use on here. Could be really beautiful too. I think I'm going to do this little green tourmaline because it so wanted to come for the ride today. And so it's kind of begging to be included. I'm going to put that on the front. And then Just get that positioned where you want it. You're happy with it. And then, and then decide if you want any other crystals on there. This little record keeper ruby keeps speaking to me. It looks like that. I don't know if you can see the record keeper. You kind of can. My camera, you know, depending on the light, will kind of show you. It's kind of cute. So I think I'm going to put that on the front. Green tourmaline's a really good stone for discernment, and rubies are protective. It's really cool. There's this designer, I can't remember what his name is. He's a jewelry designer. He does a lot of like super high-end jewelry. I'm trying to remember what his name is. But he has become famous for this technique that he does where he puts a ruby, I want to turn that just a little bit. He puts a ruby inside his bands. Does anybody know that designer? He puts a little tiny ruby inside. He does all gold jewelry. I don't own any of his pieces because that's not my style of jewelry. I don't really like just the, you know, I don't love just plain gold jewelry, and I tend not to buy stuff that's like designer jewelry because it's expensive and it usually isn't my style. But I do really admire his stuff because of the fact that he does this burnishing. And I did my research to find out where that tradition started, and it started in Rome, the burnishing of rubies. And it's to protect you when you travel, which I think is really cool. So there's there's where I'm at right now with my little ruby and my tourmaline. It's a little busy, but I'm kind of into it. She's got a lot going on. She's kind of, she's a hobo or boho. What's the term? Boho. She's a boho, not hobo. She's a boho besom. And she's got a lot going on. Burnish, it's a good question. So a burnishing is inset, where if you were to touch the outside surface, you couldn't feel it. So that's how what they used to do with the topaz, Karen, and the shields in Greece and Rome, is they would burnish the stones so that if, you know, it would never, like, even if you got hit with that shield, you wouldn't feel it. The stone was flat with the surface of the ring. So this designer who makes these rings, when you put the ring on, you can't feel it inside the band. The band still feels flat to the touch, but there's a crystal set inside of it, or in this case, a ruby. Yeah, it's really neat. I called her a hobo. I meant boho. I was very mildly dyslexic in school, and sometimes you can notice it. I think there's still vestiges of that. Who cares? I figure it out eventually. Okay. How are you guys feeling? You having fun? You happy with your little besom? I'm going to put a drop of glue on my bow because I just don't want it coming undone. That'll bug me. So I'm just putting a little bit of glue inside the bow. If you just shoot a little bit of glue inside the bow, it won't come undone. It's just a little trick. I mean, unless you're going to undo this at some point, but I'm not going to undo it, so this is it. Yeah. How would you incorporate the sage sticks? That's a good question too. So, you know, when you're done with your sage, which this one I have one last good leaf, I can probably get one more smudge out of that one, and then you have these sticks. So then you want to go through and kind of clean these up and take all the little bits and pieces off. And then what you can do is take, you know, maybe 10 of these, and it's a little besom. It's not a big flashy besom. It's something like this, even a little bit smaller. Is take them together, wire them together, and then proceed as you would with this, right? You'd have to attach a handle to it because you won't have a handle. So I would wire it, and then you might take some cork or something that would make a good handle and wire that together. You're going to cover it all with ribbon anyway. But this would be a really beautiful besom. I mean, obviously mine is burned, so you want to make sure that you take the leaves off before you burn the actual thing, unless you want to paint them, which would be okay too. Oh, I like that. Elisa said she wrapped a sprig of sage under the ribbon on the handle too. That's really neat. Yeah. Okay. Janine said, I had some ribbon issues. When I cut the ribbon, I cut too much, but she's figuring it out. Oh, I'm so excited to see yours and what they look like. Yeah, wouldn't this be neat? And this kind of will inspire you too, because I actually think you guys, it might be fun for us too to think about a way to craft some tree ornaments together, like some inspired tree ornaments. But I think about this as kind of like different ways that you could think about making your own ornaments this year, or incorporate that as a tradition in your family too. My favorite ornaments on our tree, I do 3 trees for our family. My favorite ornaments are the handmade ones and the ones we've been gifted. They always have more, significance to them. Okay, so I feel like I'm done with mine. There's a lot of things I didn't use, but you don't have to use everything. And I feel like I did use a lot of the things that really called out to be included, so it feels really good. So I want you to take a minute now. We're going to give thanks to these tools that came forward. We're going to give thanks to this beautiful besom, and we're going to give thanks to these crystals that came from our great mother. They had to come from a lot of different directions. These crystals from Brazil and India. We're going to give thanks to all of the little adornments and to Team SG for helping us put all of this together. Send blessings their way too. And so we ask for blessings as we work with this tool, as we hang this tool, we dedicate this tool to our practice of releasing and receiving, letting go of energies that aren't serving us and calling in energies that are in higher and finer vibrational alignment with who we are and who we're meant to be, who we are trying to become in the days, weeks, months, and years ahead. And together we say, Amen Aho, and so it is. Good stuff. Okay, so now what I want to do, if it's okay with you, is I would like to use it, if it's okay with you. We're in the Samhain window. We'll just do a quick ceremony. I'd like to call in and invite the guides of the 4 directional gateways, the horizontal axis, the guides and guardians of the east, the south, the west, and the north, to be present with us in our ceremony space for this brief ceremony. But we still thank you for coming in and anchoring the energies, bringing energies of air, fire, water, and earth to be present with us here and now. Calling upon the guides and the guardians of the vertical gateways, the upper world, middle world, and lower world, connecting us with the angels, with each other, and with the ancestors. We give thanks and welcome you into our ceremony space. And just take a nice deep breath there. And so, we're going to begin by releasing. We're going to begin by releasing. And I can't wait to see what you made. And if you were just watching tonight, then take your time. Maybe make it on Samhain. Wouldn't that be a cool time? If you didn't make it tonight, make it Saturday. I think that would be really symbolic and beautiful. So I use my hand. You can use whatever works for you. I kind of like that those fly around while I do my thing. I'm going to begin by releasing. So I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to focus on what you want to release from your life right now, today, right where you are, this Wednesday. What do you need to release? You don't have to say it out loud or put it in the feed, just between you and your creator. What are you releasing? Bye. Bye. tonight's on our lunch break. It's great to see you. Can't wait to see how they turned out, guys. Kathy Ball used Damberite. Bye. And let it be gone, like really gone. Okay. It's interesting, right, Kayla? It was kind of like a little rattle. And I like that. I mean, it kind of gives a little sound to it and a little additional energy to it. Okay, now let's call in. You ready to call it in? What do you want to receive? Did you call everything in? I do, Sheila, but you can definitely release on the right hand if you want, you know, and call in on the left hand, or you can do it the other way. I use one hand. Sometimes it's just the way I do things. It's just the way I've always done them. I've always just used my hand as a platform because it's easy. I have a wand that I do this with, a black kyanite wand, and this is what I do. So you can definitely alternate your hands if you want to, if that feels better for you. Calling it in towards your heart. What's most important is the direction. So whatever platform you use, I mean, you could use the floor. Do you know what I mean? But it has to be away from your heart, and it has to be towards your heart. Those are the two things that, in my opinion, you can't really switch up or switch around, right? So if you prefer to do it on the floor, like a proper broom, you can do that too. Yeah, with black kyanite, it's easy every night. Didn't it feel good? My hand's all tingly from that. That was like a little hand massage. And you can try it on the other hand and see how it feels to you. I'm more ticklish on my right hand. Oh, I like that. Yeah, you can do it on your bed, wherever you are. I mean, again, where it is less important than the direction of release, and you always want to release before you call in, because you want to make space for what's coming. So we always release before we summon or attract or call in. And look at that little tool, which already proved herself to be quite potent. She was ready for the job at hand. And this will hang in the new SG space very soon. I would be so excited to hang it. I made sure I left myself the littlest tiny little bit of, you know, the little hook right there, so that when I get in there and all the walls are painted, I think that's going to look really pretty. Yeah, this is a great craft for your kids. It's a great craft for your kids. And at the end of the day, when they've had a hard day at school, or somebody was, you know, picking on them or whatever, it's like, bye-bye, all that weird stuff. I love that idea of you incorporating this, and again, into your practice, or teaching your kids, or if you have a circle that you gather with in person, maybe you're going to make B-Sims with them. You know, again, I assume that all of you in some way are here at some point to share these, what I teach you, these tools, these practices, these tips with other people. Otherwise, you know, that's actually part of my intention, right? And a lot of you do do have your own communities and your own places where you share things and create things, and so inspire people. I think it's really beautiful to do that. But kids love having something they can do, and so when you're talking to them or you're meditating with them or however you're working magic into your life with whether it's nieces and nephews or godchildren or whatever, they like something they can do and hold in their hands. It makes them feel like they did something. Woo, all right. Quickest little ceremony we ever did have. Thank you to the guides and guardians for coming here to support the work today. So as fast as we called you in, we release you with gratitude, releasing the guides and the guardians of the lower world, middle world, and upper world, the ancestors, the community, the angels. We release you with gratitude, releasing the guides and guardians of the north, west, south, and east, earth, water, fire, and air. Thank you for bringing each of your elements into the space and helping to anchor and hold the space with us while we called in and released with these new sacred tools. And we thank you for your presence. Amen, aho. So it is. So it is. Yeah. I think it's a sweet idea. It was a good quickie. That's right. We'll spend longer next time. That was just a little quick hit for you. Okay, so that is the conclusion of our teaching and crafting for today, for tonight. But we still have about 15 minutes left. So I thought it'd be fun to see if you do have any additional questions, especially, but not only, related to some of the work that we've done this month. It's been so much work, and you guys have done it really gracefully and beautifully. But I do want to see if there's anything that anything that came up over the course of the month that you thought, if I get a chance to ask her, I'd like to. And like I said, if you submitted your questions for coaching this month, I'll have that recording for you, hopefully by the end of the day on Friday. If not Friday, it'll come to you on Monday. I think we're out of pyrite dust. I know. I wish we could get more too. I will try to see if we can. The pyrite dust is what, when we receive a shipment of pyrite, that's what's in the bottom of the crate. So, and we just didn't want to throw it away. We wanted to repurpose it. So that's what that is. And we just haven't gotten a shipment of pyrite in a little while. So hopefully when we get another shipment of pyrite, there'll be some dust in the bottom that we can share with you. What is the sphere on the top of the Angela Foes Harmony Wands? It is smoky quartz, but sometimes smoky quartz is not translucent. Sometimes it is opaque. So, but it is smoky quartz on your Harmony Wand. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Crafting for me is so much fun, and like I said, I think it's a beautiful thing to buy a tool from someone. I buy tools from people all the time, right? And I like to support other artists and stuff too. There's really something cool about saying, I made that with my own hands and my own intention and my own energy. I think there's magic in that too. So it's the best of both worlds in some ways, right? It would be really cool for the holidays, wouldn't it? Allison asked, do you believe there are low-level spirit guides or who are mean, or can shadow self negative thoughts be just a bully? That's an interesting question. I think there are spirits in the universe from all dimensional levels, layers, realities, frequencies. I think you've got the whole mix in the universe, because we know from the Hermetic principles that we live in a polar universe, right, where there's the highest, tightest possible frequency and the lowest, slowest, most base level of frequency. And we see that in the light spectrum too. So I do think there are energies that come just to disrupt, people, places, processes. And sometimes those serve a purpose. Sometimes when we disrupt something, we change it and shift it, and it moves into a new form or a new space. If you feel like there is something dark around you, though, that is harmful or hurtful in some way, That's usually a sign or signal of not being well protected enough, in my experience. And so that's when I like to call in additional protection. I taught a lot about protection in a bonus class that we did here in Soul Shift, but the Crystal Masters was also able to come to, called Pan Protection. So if you haven't seen the Pan Protection bonus session, that would be one I would highly recommend for you. I think it was like 2 or 2.5 hours where we just focused on protection conversations. So that might be one you want to go back and watch. But I think there are both in the universe, but I believe that the universe is polar. That wisdom has always shown itself to be true. Apparently it is true that the Tucson Gem Show is canceled. Here's what I know. That is the retail show, the public show, where you can come, it's in the big building where you don't have to have a resale license. But what I know is that none of my international stone suppliers are coming. And there's 2 reasons. One is they don't know if they're allowed to come to the U.S. because most countries won't let people come here because our rates of COVID are so bad. And then they don't know if they'll have to quarantine for 2 weeks on the way back. And they also don't know, like, the show could end up getting canceled in the middle. Like, they could get here and there could be a new lockdown and then they wouldn't be able to leave, but the show would be canceled. So there's too many unknowns, which is why most of the people I work with are not coming. If anybody goes, I will drive out, but only probably for a day or 2. But that was really sad news yesterday. Let's see, other questions. Is it normal to be attracted to darkness at this time of year? Yes. This is shadow season. This is when we feel connected to. Now, I in the Pan Protection class, I was very clear to make a distinction between darkness and evil. I think being attracted to darkness, I've always been attracted to darkness, right? Like to what's mysterious, what's hidden, what's unknown, what's unknowable, right? And I think it's my Sag moon. I'm on this quest for truth. I want to know what this universe is made of. I want to know, and so I've always been attracted to duality, and I find darkness very sexy. I was always attracted to, like, what was risky or what was dangerous in life. I was always been a risk taker and all of those things. All of that is different from evil. And I do believe there is evil in the universe, and I don't think it's normal to be attracted to that. But that's my personal perspective. There are people who do that work. I'm just not one of them. But being attracted to the dark, that's normal, especially this time of year. But I draw that as kind of a hard distinction in my practice because that's been my experience. Let's see what other questions you have. These are great questions. Kelly said that was her first successful crafting ever. I love that so much. Let's see. Very cool. Let's see. Can some ancestors be harmful? Some people believe so. I have one teacher who only works with ancestors who have, to use her words, crossed into the light and into healing space or healed space. And so she specifically tells, when she's calling in ancestors and guides, she tells any ancestors who have not moved into healed space that they are not allowed to come into this space, the ceremony space. I have to say, over time, I have kind of a different perspective, and I always like to give you different perspectives because I think there's always different possibilities, and I think you have to discern for yourself what resonates and makes the most sense. For me, what I know of what happens when we leave this earth, it's all reconciled. Like the instant you leave, it's all reconciled. In my opinion. But it depends on if you believe in a duality where if you've been a good person, you go to a good place, and if you've been a bad person, you go to a bad place, if that's your core belief, then I can see where you would think where maybe there's some ancestors who are in a bad place, and so the question becomes, do you want to work with them or not? I have always struggled with the good place, bad place thing, because what I've seen in ceremony and through my own near-death experience is that there's just one reality on the other side of this mirror, and it's inclusive of all. Ancestral healing is about healing you, I think, more than it's about healing them. This is my personal opinion, for what it's worth. I think ancestral healing is about healing all that lineage brought to your door. So when we talk about 7 generations back and forward, I think it makes the future generations' lives easier, and I think it heals all of the parts of you that come from those places. I used to say that, Joan, until my thinking started to change over the last year to 2 years. I've stopped saying the healed space piece. This is what I'm sharing with you guys right now. Because I really was following that teacher very closely for a couple of years, and I still think she's an incredible teacher. But what ayahuasca showed me is that my ancestors are not somewhere really struggling right now. They're actually in a place where it's all integrated. And so the more of those ayahuasca experiences I started to have, Joan, was where I started to say, I wonder if this is really ultimately about me and my healing. And I'm projecting onto my ancestors thinking that they're not in a good place. You know what I mean? Now again, maybe I could be totally wrong, because I don't know. Maybe they are somewhere just, boiling and toiling in a cauldron, and I hope not, you know what I mean? But it's like, every time I've encountered them in my journeys, that's not how it is. Even the ones who had really hard, difficult, taxing lives and weren't the greatest people when they were alive, when I encounter them in journey space, it's, yeah. Let's see. It could be. Samantha Dickens says that she watched Initiation on Gaia, and it was talking about demons and angels are not really fighting. They work together to help us change. Depends on how you look at it. I will tell you, I do think there is a manifest darkness that one can summon and experience, and I think it's really good to stay away from that if you can avoid it. Yeah, Nathan put it nicely, and I guess that's where I've landed too, that the ancestors seem to be beyond 3D duality. Healed space, not healed space. They went to a good place, they went to a bad place. Those are our binary, 3D sort of ways of understanding things and putting things into boxes and categories. But every time I encounter those energies, that's not the way I experience them. So by that theory then, yes, from my perspective, I've really started to just more or less ask the ancestors who want to come forward and assist to come forward and assist. And some of them don't want to. I mean, I sometimes I always feel like there's some that kind of hang back, which is okay too. Maybe they're not ready, or they don't know, or they're, working on something different. This is sad? Tell me, Debbie, why this is sad. She said, very sad news. Or did you get sad news? I'm not sure what happened. Let me know. What does Mama Ayahuasca look like to you? Can you see her or just hear her? You can see her and hear her. Lots of artists have painted her. She comes in different forms. I've seen her in Journey look like a tree. I've seen her in Journey look like an indigenous woman with the sort of almost like, it's hard to describe the painting, but like face paint and all of that. I've seen her that way too. Sometimes she's very old, like a grandmother, and then I've seen her come forward in Journey before where she was young and vital and in her maiden phase, or mother phase, I should say, like really just alive and but not in an older phase, not in a crone phase. So I've seen different faces of her, and sometimes she seems to come as nature. Yeah, so those are to me. To me, she's come as a tree. She's come, what are the other forms she's come in? She's come as certainly as an abuelita, as a grandmother. She's come as like a maiden figure, and she's come as like a warrior-esque, kind of like face paint and all of that. Yeah. What do I know about the Galactic Federation? They came to me in a journey. That was the one I told you about with the Constitution. Like 4 years ago. I believe it's real. I haven't had that much direct experience with the Galactic Federation, but what I was told is that there is this Council of Light, and they watch over our multiverse, and they keep a special eye on Earth. And I was told by that council, I'm glad that was helpful to you. I was told by that council that they keep kind of a shield around our planet, and that shield was tightened in some way or strengthened after we created the first nuclear bomb. That there's some anxiety on that collective's behalf that we could actually destroy ourselves. It was the creation of the nuclear bomb, I think, was when we started to see an uptick in unidentified flying object activity too. I think it created this anxiety that maybe we would actually harm ourselves. I think until that point, the beings in the other parts of this galaxy kind of left us to our own devices. So I really do believe that there was a pivot turn when we formed an atomic bomb. And that's what I was told in that journey too, was that the Federation was keeping a closer eye, that they had placed a shield around our planet in case we destroyed ourselves, that we wouldn't also destroy other parts of the galaxy. So anyway, that's all I know. I think they're real. I think there are representatives from if this sounds crazy to you, by the way, I'm sorry, because I realize that not everybody here may, have heard me talk about this stuff before, but I've had some interesting experiences. And so from what I understand, that, there are representatives from the different star systems, so whether you find yourself Pleiadian or Arcturian, there are Arcturian representatives and Pleiadian representatives and representatives from all of the dimensions and systems. So that could be what we think of as the Watchers. Yeah, and I think that quite a few of them are here in a human form, but they're not human. Yeah, I believe that to be true too. Okay, good. I'm glad I haven't thrown you off. Some people really, I have to, really be mindful of that, though, because it can sound really weird. But when they came to me and told me all of this, it was, very matter of fact. You are endangering yourselves. This is what could happen on your planet. We have placed a shield around you. It was just okay. But if you haven't heard it before, yeah. Oh, nice. Daimichi put Blue Lotus and Mexican Dream in your tea for sleep. I haven't done much with Mexican Dreamer, but I've heard good things about it. You have to have all the classes purchased in order to graduate. I think Alexis can tell us, but I think that's December 1st or December 15th, if you want your certificates. If you don't want your certificates, then you don't have to purchase the back classes. Yeah. Oh, it's the end of December. Okay, good to know. I can tell you a little bit more about Soul Shift 2021. Everything isn't super polished, finished yet, though, so I don't have all the details for you. I will in about 2 weeks. And registration will open, I think, in December. We are designing a little amulet for the beginning, everybody who signs up, so we're working on that right now, because next year's focus is alchemy. So next year, what I've done is take the 7 primary stages of alchemy, and I've translated them into spiritual terms and then built a 12-month curriculum out of it. Alchemy is the process of taking things down to their basic constituent level, what forms them, what makes them up, and cleaning it, taking it apart, cleaning it, and putting it back together to make a new structure. And so that's what next year is. And part of my goal for next year is to help you understand and identify your core wound, the main unhealed part of who you are that needs to be resolved. And our goal for next year is to identify and heal the core wound. if you can identify and heal your core wound, you won't be projecting it onto the world anymore. You'll find yourself in fewer dysfunctional relationships, and you'll experience deeper inner peace. So what I've done is create this. I've been working with 3 new teachers this year to help me I've basically gone through the process myself this year that you're going to go through next year. So we did as I built this, I was working with them. And a lot of it is somatic therapy, what we call somatic therapy. There's going to be energy work and body work involved. We're going to be doing a lot of work with your unconscious, what you don't know that you don't know, and figuring out what program is operating your system. And so we're going to be doing work with the higher self, which we haven't done before, which is different. And that's part of how we're going to get to the unconscious and what's driving you. And so that's the goal of next year and kind of the high level how we're going to get there. Yeah, the core wound piece is very important. And we all have a core wound. I've spent this year figuring out what mine is and working on it. And let me tell you, it's the best thing I've ever done, and it's the hardest thing I've ever done. But I can't believe how I've managed this year. I think I've done it really well. And I'm not patting myself on the back. I think I've managed this year as well as I have because I'm doing really intense work on myself. So I think you'll be excited. Let's see if there's any other questions. Oh, I think a lot of you spent past lives as alchemists. Remember, and this is what you need to remember, alchemy was something we inherited from Thoth, who ultimately created the Atlantean experiment, okay? When Atlantis fell and Thoth went to Egypt, he created alchemy, right? He brought alchemy from Atlantis. In Atlantis, they were there changing things from one form to another and shape-shifting and dimension shifting and timeline jumping and doing all of these things. And so Thoth came to Egypt and built pyramids and brought alchemy to Egypt. And alchemy kept being handed down through the generations. But over time, when we got to, modern history, we started to think of magic as bad, right? And so people went underground with alchemy. And what they did was they made a sort of a scientific mask for alchemy. We're just changing lead into gold so that what they were doing would look normal and they wouldn't be persecuted. Does that make sense? Alchemy has always been magic. They had to put the changing lead into gold face on it 200 or 300 years ago so that they wouldn't be burned at the stake. So I'm going back and teaching you the real alchemy, not the changing metals into gold thing that they used as a mask to avoid being targeted. Yeah, that's the real magic. Let's see. Well, Lauren, maybe you can share it with them, I think as you do your work, it will trickle through and benefit him in so many ways too. I'm just reading back through your comments. Would love to have something I can wear every day as part of my jewelry. Yeah, I hear you. That's kind of what we're working on too. I'm so glad you're excited. How do you feel about the Thoth Tarot deck by Aleister Crowley? I think it's incredible. Do you like it? I don't own a copy, but one of my dear friends does, and whenever I want to work with it, she loans me her copy. I think it's an incredible deck. Yeah, well, the good news is we are not changing. We're not changing much about next year. We're not changing the fees. The only cost that's going up is Crystal Masters tools are going up to $30 from $20 because I can't get anything carved as a tool for less than that. But everything else is staying the same. And we did that because of the pandemic. Our costs have gone up, but we are not raising program costs. So hopefully that will help. if you're trying to figure out and sort of plan your financials for next year. Yeah. All right, everybody. Let me see if there's anything else I didn't get to. Some of you have program kind of questions and technical questions, so hopefully Alexis can support you with those too. Was it your first deck? Isn't that interesting? Ooh, interesting. Yeah, and I've told you guys the story of Thoth and Zoe so many times, too. How she recognized when I showed her a picture of Thoth in that book. She was like, oh, I know him. I told him all my secrets when I was in your belly. It's like, oh my goodness, well, that's good. Chrissy Whistler said, this month you talked about the universe moving things around, moving things around for you, big circles. It doesn't go well when we fiddle and not trust. How do we as humans fiddle? I think trying to control, we as humans feel safe when we are in control or when we perceive we have control. That's what makes us feel safe. Soul shift tools are not increasing. That's correct. I didn't want to increase anything next year, but we can't get anything carved. So, but anyway, I think that's how we fiddle. Is we try to control because we want to feel safe. When I can control this, then I feel safe. If I can't control things, then I can't feel safe. So, but then that's how we fiddle, And it's like the universe sometimes needs space to move. So I think that's really important. There are Samhain rituals that I do independently. I always journey on Samhain night by myself. I always journey by myself. The last couple of years, I've used music to journey. I've created a little playlist of 5 or 6 songs and just kind of lit my candles and gone into a journey space. Last year, I curled up in kind of a fetal position and almost fell asleep. I journeyed for almost 2 hours last year. So I do recommend, and set an intention for your journey. Every year, my intention is the same, which is on this night when the veil is so thin, please show me what needs to be seen. And light your candles and let the music kind of take you. You can make yourself some Blue Lotus tea or burn some Boom Shiva or, whatever you like to work with for your sacred tools. But I think journeying and getting quiet or drumming can be really helpful. Scrying is also great on Samhain. If you want to do it the night before Samhain or the night of Samhain. I always journey at the end of the night, because usually I have my kids out trick-or-treating. This year I'm going to be journeying a little bit earlier because we're just staying home and watching movies because we're not allowed to trick-or-treat where we live because of COVID. So we're just going to be home watching movies and eating popcorn and candy and stuff. So I'm probably going to journey a little bit earlier. Well, for me, journeying 2 hours is not very long. When I do ayahuasca, it's 8 in the morning until 4 or 5 in the afternoon. 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 9 hours. And it goes by like that. So for me, a 1 hour journey like we do in class is really hard for me. So I like to do a nice 2, 3, 9 hour journey. Yeah, Blue Lotus is a little bitter. Yeah, if you go in really deep in a journey, you'll see it's hard to come out. These are all great questions, by the way. I really, really appreciate them so much. I really, really do. Thanks, you guys, for being here tonight. I hope that you enjoyed the crafting. And thank you, Alexis, for staying on board for a few extra minutes. So, session 4 for October is complete. Can you believe we have session 1 for November? Next Wednesday, November 3rd. 4th. November 3rd is Tuesday. How could I not know that? So, here's what is going on now. So tomorrow, like I said, is the closing ceremony at the shop. Please hold space for me and our team while we say goodbye to Torrance and all the sweet memories that were there. Friday, I will be live with you for Samhain at 6 p.m. Pacific time on YouTube, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Saturday, which is Halloween proper, is going to be, me with kids. The kids have their friends coming over. If I can be online with you Sunday, if I'm not too tired, I probably will be this weekend because of Samhain on Friday and Halloween on Saturday, and I have kids having sleepovers. We'll do Ovid on Sunday. If not, we'll do Ovid the following weekend, and we'll pick up there and try to be a little more regular on the weekends. So that's what we have to look forward to. So I'm going to be dressing up a little bit Friday night. I'm going to have my crystal crown on. I'm going to wear my Soul Shift crown on Friday, and a little black dress. So I encourage you, if you want to dress up too, I would love to see your selfies in our Soul Shift Facebook group if you're open to posting them. But tonight was really, really fun. I hope you enjoyed it too. I hope you enjoy your BSOMs and that you get a lot of good use out of them. And Alexis and I will look forward to seeing you in the Facebook group. We'll see you there. Thanks everybody for being here. Love you, love you, love you. We'll see you soon.